Good morning, YouTubers, and welcome once again for more raw, naked, unedited, unscripted, unrehearsed video from the eastern wing of the Stink Bug Works. Anyway, I'm here to talk about the JetStepper again. You know, we're trying to get some interest going in this. I've got this guy, which was prototype 4, set up. I'm going to run this. I ran some numbers on this motor, and I'm way down on efficiency because I'm turning really low RPMs on this thing. You know, it's like 16 or 17,000 RPM, but I'm thinking everything else is so light and such that the loaded and unloaded RPM isn't going to be a whole lot different. So we'll just have to see. Again, remember, too much power in this thing and it's uncontrollable. So we'll see if this works. If this does, then prototype, what would this be? Prototype 6. Did I write it inside here? No, I haven't written it inside here. Prototype 6, I'm thinking of doing this. I stole the rubber coupler off of the paper mache drive. I'll use a lightweight aluminum stuffing tube, a 3mm tube with a 2mm shaft that rides in those Teflon bearings or bushings, and so we'll be all good to go. And then this, where is it? This, look, I got a motor and a speed control. This, I don't know, it'll go into something. I know how to hook it up to a shaft now, you know. And so that's kind of where that's going. And now everybody is asking me, but wait, Dr. Jet, what is this big motor, really big for me, what is this big motor and big speed control doing here? Well, if any of you recognize this, this is the old Aquacraft SV27 motor. It's actually a pretty good motor. It's a 6-pole motor, and this was the Aquacraft SV27 speed control. It wasn't real big. It was like 40 amps or something like that. But the SV27 on 6 cells performed right smartly. And in fact, if we go way back, God, when would this be? This have to be a decade ago at least. There was a class, a NAMBA class of racing for a year or two, which was LSH, limited spec hydroplane. And what you would do is you would run a Speed 700 brushed motor on, I think it was 12 cells, 12 round cells. And so everybody was limited to this motor and this battery. And so that kept racing pretty even, and that's the fun part of racing. You don't want one guy that laps the next guy every third lap. You know, that's just not fun. You like to see deck-to-deck racing. That's more fun. You want to see them banging and bashing into each other, bang, bang, you know. So anyway, that was the point of limited spec, and then along came brushless and lipos, and the SV27 was, this motor was so close to the Speed 700 that the next year of limited spec, they said you could run this motor and 4 lipos. And that worked fine on this system, and it ran really good. But now you're saying, well, what am I doing with this? I don't know if any of you recognize what's on that motor, but this motor is going to go into an application there. One of my subscribers was kind enough to send me a hull, and I think that hull would be perfectly suited to this motor attached to that motor mount. I think that would be a good use for this motor and that project. I build all my boats with a specific mission in mind. And I haven't recently built one with speed as my all-out goal. Most of them are, to look a certain way or to run a certain way, or like this was a spec class. And the same thing with the 12-inch challenge. It was a spec class. And, how fast could you go with that little spec class? But all-out speed, haven't built anything like that. Mainly because you got to go big, which means expensive, hard to store. I like to keep most of my boats in a case, and I'll show you why. Stand by, let me clear off this space. And here is why I like to keep my boats in a case. Look at poor old Chuck. Look how dirty he is. He's dirty and dusty, and his windshield is dirty and dusty. And, there's just dust all over his exhaust stacks. And, poor old Chuck, he's just not happy. Look at the expression. Is he happy? No, he's not, because his boat is dirty. Look at this. Ugh. So, why do I bring this up? Because this motor and this speed control was in this boat. Look what's in here now. I'm thinking, here's what is this? This is a 3313. And the KV of this is 1850. This is 1800. And because I like these Dynamite 120 speed controls, not Dynamite, but Sea King, Hobby Wing Sea King 120s, I like these speed controls. They're thin, they'll fit into most places, they don't take up a lot of real estate, and so they're easy to program, they'll handle as much current as that will ever draw. And get a load of this. This is the batteries that I was using back then. These batteries are a decade old. I'm going to charge them up, but I think I'm going to put them in a bag out on the driveway just because. It's not that I don't trust them. Now, Steve always did get the best quality stuff he could, and there's no evidence of puffage at all. So who knows? These lipos, they are different creatures. Although, look at this. This is 30C, and that was considered big back then. 30C. But again, that'll be enough for this thing. This thing will run fine. So that's kind of on the back burner, but at least this motor has a home because this motor has a home. So this will... Poor Chuck, look at his instrument panel. You can't even read the dials. Okay, so I think that has summed everything up. The nice thing about this is you can run it on 3S. If you had a single motor, you can't find receivers and servos that easily that run off of 1S unless you go for the micro stuff, and that's just too micro. So anyway, I've covered it all. So until next time, jet out.